Hi, it's Karen. Thanks for joining me today. I thought I would use today's card to show you how I was taught many years ago how to do random stamping. So I'm starting with a cactus and pot, and I'm just stamping it in very pale ink into roughly the center of a card panel, and then I am going to stamp around it to form triangles. So second image is going down now, and you can see to make a triangle I'm putting a third pot in that little space there, so that's formed a triangle. And you just keep working like that, so you take two images and then put the third one in the spot to form a triangle. And I find that that works really well to give you both the random look and also to avoid those trapped spaces that you can sometimes get with trying to fill a whole background with stamping. So I'll just keep going through the whole panel, creating triangles of images. They don't have to be all the right way up. In fact, they look better if they're upside down, sideways, what have you. Any little gaps that you have, you can take a small image. In this case, I'm taking a very small cactus flower and stamping that in those gaps to both fill in the gaps and also to tie the images together. So it's quite easy to do once you get the idea of the triangle working. And oops, here's a spot I missed. I can fit another little bit of cactus in there, so I'll put that in there to fill up that gap. And of course, I'm sure you all know that when you want it to look random, you go off the edges of the card as well. So that's going to be my background for my card today, and I'm going to cover it with some heavyweight vellum as well to make it, you can barely notice it, but it's there and adds a little bit of interest without detracting from the rest of the card. So that's my card panel, which will get adhered down to a white card base. Now I'm going to, in keeping with the sketch I'm working to, and this is where I put it on crooked and have to rip it back up again. Tell you what, that ATG glue sticks like you wouldn't believe. So I managed to pull it back up without tearing it and adhered it back down again, and you'd never know. So there's the vellum going over the top. To adhere the vellum, I'm actually going to put the glue behind the panel of gingham paper that I'm putting down the left hand side. So I've added that to the vellum, and now I'll put glue on the vellum behind that, and that will hold it in place enough. So that's that part of the card finished. Just tidying up those edges, and I've got a thin strip of black cardstock to really to define the edge of the pattern paper with the base underneath. So just add that with some liquid glue. And trim off the edges. Now I'm working on my sentiment, and I've already die cut a banner, and I found a sentiment that's going to fit in it. And the way I stamp my sentiments to make sure that they actually are straight is I actually line them up inside the negative die cut, put the die cut back in place. Oops, didn't have that quite straight. Line it back up again, put the die cut in, and then I can stamp, and I know that it's going to be straight. I just find it easier to get it straight by looking through onto the plastic underneath rather than the card. So I'm going to emboss that in some white and heat that up, melt that powder, And underneath that I'm going to put another banner in black, and I have angled that the opposite way just for some added interest. So I'm going to adhere that on there, add the sentiment, put a little bit extra glue under the vellum to hold that down. And it's about now that I think, this is looking a bit plain. So I decide to add a stamped and coloured cactus onto the card. So I'm using London Fog ink, which is a pale grey ink, and I'm just going to stamp onto a scrap of Express It cardstock the pot and the cactus, and then I'm going to do some very simple Copic colouring. So I'll leave you with a bit of music while I do the colouring and finish off the card. Thanks very much for joining me, and I'll see you next time. Bye.